First things first, the voice actor of Ainz's character needs to be praised, because straight up, the performance from his VA was insane. And also, the animators for this scene in particular also need to be praised, because they really emphasized the sound effects and the emotion through Ainz's character movement and how furious he was with what happened to the Royal at the end of this episode. And so I want to take a few moments to really talk about that and kind of what this whole episode really signifies, and how these individuals right here, which I'm about to show on screen, basically ruin their very chances of maybe some people of the kingdom, more people of the kingdom, to survive. The royals, nobles, etc. But they cast it out the window as soon as they offered the head of the royal that Ainz sat down with to him in his lap. And it's a very dark moment, a very emotional moment, and it really gets to show a different side. Like, it shows a different side to Ainz's character that we don't really get to see often. So before I talk more about this scene, let's get into where it kind of started within this episode. So Ainz, he sits down with the noble, or the royal, the king in standing, and is like, let's begin our discussion. Are you wondering, like, why, we're doing this invasion? Why do we think it's just, etc.? And the whole discussion kind of goes like you would expect. It's something that you would definitely expect from a discussion, because obviously the one that's being attacked is like, why won't you, accept our surrender? Our plea for surrender, etc. Why will you not do this? And in the whole exchange, they're seeking answers from each other, and even though the royal here knows that whatever he says is probably not going to make a difference, because in terms of battle strength, there's nothing that can be done. He realizes that they don't stand a chance against Ainz's military strength. There is nothing they legitimately can do against him, but they fight anyways, which is a very noble and courageous act. It's a courageous act because it's the only thing they have available to them. If Ainz will not accept their surrender, if Ainz will not accept the head of the royal or the king, there's nothing that can be done at all. And so the only thing to do at this point, which was a last-ditch effort, was for him to walk up to Ainz like, look, Could you talk with me? Like, could you explain to me why you're doing this? I want at least some understanding to why everybody has to die in the kingdom, and why my people have to suffer for you to achieve this victory. What is there to prove, etc.? Why are you being so close-minded? And this moment's very powerful, because Ainz, he's not dealing with an NPC. He's not dealing with someone that is basically way, way more intelligent than him. He lets down his guard, his barriers, and he communicates with him in a very human way, which kind of gives emphasis towards later on in the episode when the royal starts talking about how Ainz is very human. His outside appearance is very monstrous, but he has a very human inside, because obviously he was once human. And the way this conversation is Ainz actually says something to him that's not something he would say to anyone else. He wouldn't say this to someone like, Albedo or any of the NPCs, because they would misunderstand what his goals were or what he wants. They would twist it in a way that isn't exactly what Ainz is really fighting for. But he tells this royal in question, like, I'm fighting for happiness. I am fighting for my people. And obviously, this answer seems common sense. Like, yes, obviously, he's fighting for his people. But you gotta think about it from the perspective of the royal that's leading a human army that's being attacked by inhuman creatures, undead, demons, etc. When you think of demons and undead, you're like, they wouldn't be fighting for their people. They'd be fighting for some goal or evil intentions of conquering the world, etc. That's what your mind would instantly shift towards. But Ainz says something that is just so human, the guy was taken aback. He's like, what, really? Ainz wants just happiness. He wants happiness for the NPCs. And we get to see a little bit more about his character and how his perspective of the world has shifted since he actually arrived in this world to how much time has actually passed. Now, let's talk about that. So basically, at first, Ainz, when he's mentioning his goals, he was trying to spread Nazaric's name, Ainz Ooal Gown, and the whole name of Nazarick and everything far and wide throughout the world, for he could meet other players and potentially others from his guild that may have arrived in this world. But as time has passed, and many, many weeks, months, and even potential years have passed since he arrived, he realizes that the chances of a player or even his friends being in this world is gradually getting lower and lower. And he realizes that that hope is almost basically extinguished. So now he's shifted his overall perspective and what he wants for happiness for the NPCs, because he looks at them like family. He looks at them like they're his children, and he wants to protect them and make sure even if he was to, let's say, die one day somehow, he would still have a happy life for them. They would have something in the future for themselves to be able to prosper and thrive. So the whole world and founding his kingdom and shaping the world and the way he wants is for those he actually cares about. And in a way, yes, you could say it's selfish, but it's something that anyone that is a human sitting at an overall discussion about the fate of someone's lives and kingdom could understand. Most likely he would do the exact same thing. He would sacrifice any kingdom if it meant sacrificing the Sorcerer's Kingdom, whatever, if it meant to make his own people happy. And I really love this entire discussion. It shows a very different side to Ainz that, like I said, you just do not get to see often. Now, there was, as I said, a mutual understanding between the characters, basically realizing that they're both can be respected in their ways, and Ainz views the royal as someone that is a true royalty. Like, he is someone that is fit to be a king, fit to be royals, and he's willing to face Ainz, even though he realizes it's probably hopeless to even face him. He still does it no matter what. And he even says, like, could you please kill us a little bit more gentlier instead of making it painful? I could use easy spells on us because obviously I don't want my people to suffer. And everything about this, to even how he, like, drinks the drink at the end, like he downs the whole drink that Ainz offers him, kind of signifies that he realizes he's going to die. He's understanding, and he's fully accepted the fact that he is going to die by Ainz's hands. And he's like, it doesn't matter if this drink potentially is poison or not, I will drink it because I'm just going to show respect to one that has at least come here to sit down and talk with me as an equal, instead of being like this monstrous being that doesn't even show his face and just eradicates me from miles away. It's a very important moment, and I love, like I said, I've been saying it, I love this moment so dearly. And they properly did this scene, even if there is some cut moments throughout this scene, and there's definitely more dialogue and hidden meaning, etc. that's thrown into the light novels. I feel like everything that's very important from this is conveyed properly within this scene. At least there's nods to it. So I'm not really upset whatsoever when it comes to the cut content of this significant scene. Now, leading up to this point, we get into the scene where obviously he realizes, as I've already said, he knows he's going to die, but he's not going to just roll over and die for people trying to take his head, because that would go against the very act of why he's here in the first place. He's literally here to protect his people. He's here to try to give them a chance. He's here to fight on the battlefield, even though he realizes he's not a strong fighter. And the fact that, people would come into his tent and try to take his head is so disgraceful, which explains why Ainz was so upset. The very act that his own people would turn against him when he went so far to try to at least communicate with Ainz says enough. And that is why Ainz gets so angry at the end of this episode. It's like, give him a proper burial, etc. Everything about this is very significant because Ainz probably was, in his own way, thinking about maybe sparing some of them. But that's been thrown out the window now because what they actually did, and he wants those individuals that actually did this to kind of suffer more than they would ever imagine. So it's just, what a scene. What an episode of Overlord. They did a really good job with this. And we got a little bit of stuff here with, like, maybe some dialogue, basically, of the characters of wanting to keep people alive and all that. And I think this is very important because, obviously, Ainz made a promise in the last episode to a few NPCs that were alignment of good, that he would let some people flee from cities and survive. And obviously he does do this in a few little circumstances like the town he attacked, but overall he realizes that he can't be completely good. He's trying to lean on both sides, and he makes mistakes here and there, and there's definitely a lot of dialogue with, like, the NPCs and why they're doing what they're doing. That was cut out from the episode. I think could have been explained a little bit better, but that's still the big point, though. When it comes to Overlord's anime, even though there is obviously some imperfections, things that don't make perfect sense, it isn't properly conveyed, I think, even to anime onlys, the source content is, like, so good. Like, the source content is so freaking good that even if it is not a perfect anime adaptation, it is still such a good anime because the source content is just too good. And that just really shows the beauty of Overlord and just how amazing of a show it is. But, yeah, this is a good episode. I really like this episode. Very emotional and chills, honestly. Chills for that final moment with Ainz. But, tell me your thoughts, honestly, how you felt about this week's episode of Overlord. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Be honest in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious. With that, be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.